Oh man. Well, sorry everybody.
For everyone just joining in, we realized that we've been live. I haven't been live for 7 minutes, so
I've been trying to get on for 7 minutes.
Well, I was just trying to get on myself. I'm like, this isn't working. Oh yeah.
I just got a notification that we went live. By the way,
I have nothing to do with that part of it. Nothing.
No, it's all me and Brandon.
It's all our screw up.
All right, we'll run through these real quick again. We're gonna start the show kind of going over everyone's schedules. Barry Puller starts 15th in Hubbard. They got a good schedule coming out this year. This weekend or next weekend or this weekend is the Kevin Rudd Memorial Pull up in Mondovi. They're going to run everything from stock class to modifieds up there. They're going to have the Mike. Do you know if he's taking the diesel up there this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Planning on it, yes.
All right.
It's always fun to watch.
That thing made a hell of a pass up there last year. Sugar Creek schedule. Tri-County's got a pretty good schedule going on. Another full year for them. The Stubborn Mule, they've got a pile of hooks, which they're a little bit farther south, so they can get a little bit longer pulling season in. AMPI actually started last weekend, so they have already started their hooks. Their next one's in June 8th, and that's going to be with the ATV Club, and their schedule is right here. We actually don't do our test and tune until the end of June, but we do have that one hook on the 8th in Boaz. And then, like I said before, when we weren't live, what got me to ask Mike to come on was this, when I seen the announcement that he had signed up for the Champions Tour in 2024. So again, Mike, thanks for coming on for the second time tonight. If you don't mind, again, kind of telling everyone where you got your start in tractor pulling.
Well, we started when I was a teenager. My parents kind of got going in it, and it was always with, Tri-County, and started with a limited class there, and then just kept building up over the years. So that was back in 92 when we actually started pulling. So 91 or 92. Quite some time.
And then, yeah, I think, and then you said you went to the Economod for a couple years, and then on to that open class with Tri-County with the twin turbo small block, and never looked back. And now we're going Grand National mini rod pulling.
Yeah. So it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah, cheaper and cheaper too.
Yeah.
Can you remember, like, the very first time that you got the combination to work and made that pass that you knew mid-track this was going to be the pass that's going to win?
Well, the turbo tractor stuff?
Yeah.
The turbo motor?
The turbo motors.
Well, the first time that when we first built that, I had the advantage because Sean had been doing it for a while, and we'd always been good friends. And I think that very first pull we went to was in Madison at the Speedway. And they made a really good pass. Like, I don't remember if we won, but it was like right there if we didn't. Like, it worked really good. And so we knew we had something that was going to work. And then it took a little while. We kind of went backwards trying stuff. And then we made the blow-through carburetor work. It took about a half a year probably to really make it work. And then that second or third year, it worked really good. And then everyone else went out and stepped it up some, of course, catch back up. And then we kind of outgrew that blow-through carb. We couldn't get enough through it. So we kind of fell back off and then switched the injector and had to relearn all that. And so it was kind of an up and down road over the years. Like, you would get it all built up, everyone would catch up, you'd turn it up and screw yourself, and then have to kind of start all over, basically,
I don't know anything about the blow through carbs. Are they something you got to build or something that is built that you buy?
Yeah, there's a couple of them out there that make them that are really good. Like I always ran CNS stuff. That was always real good. They were good to talk to. They did real good all the way up to like 1,200 horse, right around there. It was really good. at that, back when we were running about 1,000 horsepower in that class, like when I first got into it, it was really, really efficient.
Okay.
That right there. Anything over 1150, 1200, it just wouldn't do it. So, but it works.
Or,
Yeah. You can't get the fuel right. You can't get the fuel
okay.
balance. Just wouldn't work. It just wasn't happening. You get plenty of air through it, but we couldn't get the fuel right.
Okay.
Then it was almost a shame to have to get away from that because it did work really good. And once you learned it, it was actually pretty simple.
Sure.
It was not overly complicated at all.
Chuck Hobb wants to know, was that hard on head gaskets?
So what he's referring to there, when we
Sorry.
right when we went to the LS motor, we were standing on it really hard, trying to see how much we could make. And we had some bad ignition parts for a while, and then we were off on our tune-up, and we were fighting a ton of detonation. So we were going through head gaskets like every pass. We were wrecking heads. We were doing all kinds of stuff for like a whole year. Like we went through, I think we went through 6 sets of heads one summer, and each one of those sets I probably welded up 2 or 3 times. Like it was terrible. It was every week. It was like, take the heads off, weld them up, machine them back down, put them back on. It was absolutely the worst summer ever.
that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to work on them all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that was tough at first. Once we figured out kind of between going to the LS and putting that injector on there and changing the injector from the small block to the LS for what we thought. And then we actually were running coil on plug at that time, and the coils actually weren't probably right for what we were trying to do. So that combination was just killing us.
Okay.
Once we figured that out, then we didn't really have any problems after that. So.
Wow. Okay. Towards the end of running that twin turbo LS, what kind of power were you guys reaching with them?
Well, if Sean wasn't still doing it, I'd probably tell you.
Okay. Well,
fair enough.
Sean has
I'll
told
tell
me.
you this.
Okay.
I'll tell you this much. It's not as much as everybody thinks. So everybody thinks that when you build a LS small block, you can make 1,800, 2,000 horsepower and all this garbage. And that crank is still small. And in tractor pulling, you're still making a 12 to 13 second pass.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not as easy as people think. And a lot of people think that it was making 1,600, maybe 1,600 plus, and it was not. So I can tell you that it's in the same realm as what the blowers all run. So that whole class runs from 1,200 to 1,350.
Okay.
That's where the whole class runs at. And it was within those parameters. You could turn it up, but it wouldn't last.
Okay.
You turn it up and fight oil problems and just all kinds of other small things. And you turn it up to 1,500 if you wanted to and make 2 passes and put a new bottom end in it. So we just didn't do it. It wasn't worth it. Yeah, it run right with the blowers.
It's funny too. You talk about how the cranks can only take so much. I was talking with David Esteb last year down in Freeport with his light super stock, and he claims that they can get 5 passes if they're lucky out of one crank.
That crazy.
He goes, they check it after 4, and if it's not cracked, they'll run it one more time. But he's like, we can get 5 passes out of one crank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nuts. I mean,
so when you say that, it's like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean,
that's part of the reason we went to the LS, because you got a bigger journal there, you got bigger cam core. So we didn't have to go to an LS to get the head geometry, even though that's kind of a bonus. It was for the bottom end of the motor, right? Like we could have stuck with a traditional Gen 1 small block and put canted valve heads on it and all that stuff if we wanted to, but trying to support the bottom end more.
Yeah.
That's really the key to that deal.
Guys, I apologize. I'm going to have to take off. We got a big fire or something going up more.
Okay.
So sorry about that. Good to see you, Mike. Thank
Yep.
you.
No problem. So on that, how big of turbos were you running on like that size with that LS, like roughly?
They were twin 80s.
Twin 80s? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever
70.
try
Actually, I take that back. They were twin 78s. So,
Okay.
right there.
Do you ever try anything bigger, or it seemed to be what spooled?
Those were plenty big. They didn't even need to be that big.
Okay.
You could run something smaller, but you could get away with something smaller if you wanted to. But once we got to that, we run some 76s for quite a while. That worked good, but the exhaust housing wasn't quite there. It just so happened that 78 millimeter one, the exhaust housing is the reason we ran that Chargers, because it dumped all of our back pressure out of the motor, which is good.
Okay.
So we just went up in Charger size because we could get the Charger without doing any modifications to it with that exhaust housing. So you could actually go down all the way down much smaller than that, and if you wanted to spend a little more money on Chargers, you could go significantly smaller and get down to even 60 millimeter Chargers and probably make north of 1,200 horse if you want to.
Okay.
But it's going to cost you more because Chargers got to be higher quality.
Yep. Okay. All right. So we're going to go from that. You had that tractor that you run forever. Everybody knows about the pass you made over in Shipshawana that could have gone better. You come back out that next, I think it was that spring again already, because if I'm not mistaken, didn't you guys already have another chassis in the works?
We went and bought one. So we just
okay.
went out and, normally I build everything, but
Yep.
kind of not enough time to build something, and I wasn't walking yet. So we just went and bought a rolling chassis, tore it apart, cleaned it up, painted it all,
Okay.
dropped the motor in, and went pulling. So.
And then how long did you run that before that thing got sold? It wasn't that terribly long, was it?
No, it wasn't long. We ran it for one summer. That was
okay.
it. So, yeah, the only reason that we put that back together, at that point, before we had the accident and ship, we knew that at some point we were going to build a bigger tractor.
Yep.
So we had already known that we were going to head that direction. So the tractor was going to be for sale anyway. And then we had the accident, and I figured we wouldn't be able to really get much money out of the motor if it was just motor sitting there. And I had all the parts. We basically just needed a frame. So we just went and bought a rolling chassis from, actually bought it from Guza's.
Okay.
State tractor. They had bought a new modern chassis and had the old one sitting there. So we put small block in it and then went and ran it for most of that season.
Okay. And have you found out how the guy that bought it, have you found out how he's doing with it, or?
Not made a pass in it since he's bought it.
Really? Just been sitting.
Yep, been sitting. So it was, excuse me, it was like, I think last April when he bought it.
Okay.
And he took it home. We actually, I freshened the motor, got that all done for him. We repainted everything for him. He took it home, and it was like July before he let me know that it was all decaled and all that stuff. And he never went and made a pass with it. So I haven't heard from him since then. And so I really honestly don't know what the deal is there.
Really? Okay. Wow. I'm surprised to hear that. I thought for sure he had made at least a couple passes on it.
Yeah.
Me, myself, I couldn't stand buying something like that and then just let it sit. Like,
Yeah.
it's only going to sit when I break it and don't have the money to put it back together.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if they'll ever see that again or not, to be honest with you.
God, I hope so.
It's out east now, so we won't see it around here. It went
No,
out
but still it's kind of neat every now and then when you see somebody post a video and you're like, hey, that's that old tractor. And it's kind of neat to see where they all end up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so you sell that version of It's No Joke, and we're going to build Grand National tractor at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Or Champions Tour.
Yep.
Where did that start? I mean, did you build this chassis or did you end up buying one?
So we built everything. So everything that we could build, we built. So we bought the rear end from Modern and put their planetary in. And then obviously we have SCS gearbox and the normal clutch can, all that clutch can, all that stuff. But as far as chassis and all that stuff, it was all designed by me. We do it all on SolidWorks, so I design it all, can do all that fancy analysis and geometry stuff, and then cut all the tubing and weld it all here. So
Oh, cool. So then that's the chassis to the motor. I mean, I talked to you talked to you last year up at the Kevin Rudd poll, and one of my first questions was, "Is it staying twin turboed?" And you said yes. And I believe you told me up there that you ended up talking with PPL and NTPA to making sure what you wanted to do was going to fit the rules. Is that right?
yeah, we've had conversations, because I don't want to do this and like just have problems, right? It's just not,
Right.
it's too much money to spend and everything. And if you make it work, and they didn't really have much of a rule base to it, and even NTPA still really doesn't have too much, right? They just say a single pressure stage, and that's it.
Yep.
Which is fine, but someday if somebody really starts to consistently make it work, that'll be a problem, right? They're going to either want to take stuff away, or you have no base to build on, and nothing like that. So I had been helping Eric for quite a while there for a year or whatever.
Yep.
With their blower tractor, and been around and kind of got to know people and everything, and just came right out, and we just had conversations and just said, make some rules, like let's just make some rules, have a baseline, something to build off of, and it'll just be better for everyone, So we went down to one of their rules meetings and spoke our piece and what we thought, and then they put some rules in place. So at least there's some guidelines, and I'm sure over the years it'll have to be tweaked or whatever, but at least there's something there, So
Well, and something like that too, you're coming out of the gate with twin turbos, and I mean, what is there, 5 in the nation minis that are running twin turbos, if that? I mean, I can only think of about 1 or 2 right off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's only, well, when you get to big tired minis, I mean, Sean's still got his, he's still doing that. And then you've only really got Webbs and Gerke's, on the national level stuff. So there's really only those 3. And then if you get down to some of the smaller tired classes and stuff, there's a little bit more of it, down in some of that.
Yeah. But like you say, you've got to have a set of rules to give something for people to build by. Right. And I get they might have to be adjusted, but you can't just let that gate open and be like, oh, come and run. And for you to build something, like, you want to know that it's going to be welcome to run when you show up and it comes out of that trailer.
Oh, right. And, if somebody has a discrepancy on something or doesn't like the way something's going, at least there's a baseline, right, to have that conversation. It's not just a bunch of opinions thrown out there just flying around, and people getting mad over this or mad over that, and it's just easier, because even though I wouldn't do it if I didn't think that it couldn't work. Like, I think it can work. I also think that it's going to take a lot of work to make it work, and it's going to take a little bit of time. So there needed to be something to kind of build off of.
Yeah. And you think back to, and this is even kind of before really when I've been young, but like when the alcohol stuff started coming into the super stock classes, for the first couple of years, they were not that competitive. And you see interviews, and the diesel guys are like, yeah, we're not nervous about it. Well, now they got that stuff figured out, and they're 2 separate classes where, I've seen what It's No Joke tractor has done. I mean, you start showing up and start making passes, all right, that's going to open that floodgate. If all of a sudden one guy starts making some real good hits with it, well, other guys are going to see that, and you could potentially just start seeing more of them being built. Well, I would love to see that. I think the twin turbo stuff is awesome. I would love to see a little bit of change in the mini class, because they are fairly cookie cutter in my opinion. Slaws to me are the ones that their chassis are just crazy, and to sit how they do in them is just nuts, but they make it work, and they've been doing it for years, and they like it. So to each their own. But so I'm really excited. Can you tell us anything about the motor?
So it's Brad Anderson block, Brad Anderson heads. It's really not any different than anything else that's out there, really. It's a little bit, probably a little better stuff than I anticipated starting with. really
Okay.
had intentions of, you know, maybe not having as good a stuff as we have, just because we were going to learn, right? We're just going out to learn. And then I came across a good deal and was able to get some stuff bought up that was worth buying at the time, or, and we ended up with a piece that should be pretty decent. It's probably not the exact combination yet, but it should be close enough to go out, learn, hopefully not look too stupid.
Mhm.
It's kind of the goal here, right? Yeah, and just they're allowing us to run 88 millimeter chargers, so
Okay.
that's what we put on. It was 2 of them, and then just our own fuel system that I designed myself. So that'll be a
So
little bit of work, but
is that a type of mechanical or electrical fuel injection?
all mechanical. We're not
Okay.
allowed to have any electric.
I didn't think so, and I didn't know if they would have changed that with you being able to run turbos, but so it's all mechanical. Okay.
Yeah.
And you
It's
say
very, very similar to the small block.
okay.
We just kind of scaled it up, essentially.
Okay. So that's kind of neat. And you said that's your own just kind of concoction of
Kind of what we
worked on
learned
the
over the
small
years.
block, so
Yeah, we just basically scaled it up, and there was a couple of spots in the small block where like it could have been better. So basically making an assumption that would have the same problem here because it's just a little bit bigger.
Yep.
So we just tried to correct those spots in the system on this new system. So hopefully that works.
and hopefully that'll help you too for like tunability. You knew how to tune the old system, so hopefully it's similar
Yep.
on this system as well for what you need to do to either take that, get it rich or lean.
Right. Yeah. And as far as all that goes, it's exactly the same.
Oh,
So
okay.
that way, when the adjustments that I can make on it now are exactly like the small block ones.
Okay.
So I can just change the same thing. So if it all scales up proportionally, then it should be fine. But nobody knows. So
Again, this is kind of no one's really done this before, so you're kind of volunteering to be the guinea pig to try all this, but
right, we're just gonna, and I mean, everybody that's doing it is really doing pretty well with it if you watch. It's just not too many can actually get there consistently, right? Like, yeah, lay down a really nice pass, things run good, you make progress, and then for whatever reason, you change something and you go back 20 steps. And
Yep.
it's the same thing. I mean, I went through it multiple times, with that, right? Get somewhere and then you're like, okay, we're gonna change something, and you think you're going the right direction, else you go backwards. And so to get it to work, I think is going to take a little time, but it's not the end of the world. It's to get it to work consistently.
Yep.
That's the hard part, and that's what everybody struggles with.
With your LS tractor, did you find that you were doing a lot of tuning for like air temperature or humidity and stuff like that, or were you able to kind of have a tune that pretty much worked pretty good about no matter what the temperature or humidity and stuff was at?
For the most part, we didn't really have to change too much. Like
Okay.
really early in the year or really late in the year, maybe, but like throughout the summer, we didn't really change a lot on that. We tried to keep it pretty safe, because that thing when we got it working, we were able to run it pretty fat. So then it didn't matter because it was rich anyway. You weren't really on the edge trying to run it on the edge. If we wanted to turn it up and put more air to it, then yes, we had to pay
Okay.
a lot closer attention to that.
And I'm gonna start scrolling through some of these pictures too. I have of your older tractor, and I got to give. Is it your wife? I'm assuming that does all your social media stuff.
Yep.
Hats off to her. You guys do it very well, and it's stuff like this where she's throwing out little teaser shots of the tractor that's coming. That just makes people want to see it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That
you
picture
always
right
can-
there. If you look up in the back of the truck, the motor's sitting in the back of the truck because I had just brought it home like a week ago.
Okay.
And I don't think hardly anybody actually noticed that the motor was sitting there.
If you wouldn't have told me, I wouldn't have noticed that. I was so fascinated by the actual tractor.
Yeah.
This your wife right there?
Yep, that's my wife.
Okay. Well, you can tell her she does a fine job.
Yeah, she's
at her social
listening. Here, you can tell her right there. Now she's running away from the camera.
I actually think she's the one I talked to when I bought the shirt and stuff from you guys in Platteville a couple years ago.
Ben.
But no, your tractors, I've never seen you not make just one heck of a pass in that old tractor. I can't wait to see you make a new pass in this new tractor. Have you been to the dyno yet, or that's still unknown?
Yeah, that we haven't been yet.
Okay.
We had that plan and it kind of isn't really working out right. So right now our plan is everything's together, everything's ready. We could go attempt to make a pass. Our plan right now is to go do some testing on Saturday.
Okay.
So if all goes well there and we can get it and I feel comfortable with where we're at, we're going to go up to Sparky's, Mondovi on Sunday and try to make a real lame hit on it and just see if it'll stand the tire up, come off the line, and just see what happens.
Okay.
And then if that turns out good, then we'll figure out where we want to go in June, do a couple of hooks maybe, and just keep coming up on it. Hopefully by the time we get to the end of July, we're somewhere with it. If we can't get things to work this weekend how I want, then we'll put it aside until we can get it on a dyno.
Okay.
Kind of the plan right now. So I don't really know where we're gonna be with it yet. Just we're a little bit behind. It just took a little while to get the parts and stuff, and we wanted to be to this point, a month ago. We just couldn't get there. But, yeah.
Well, and I own a collision shop down here, and like trying to get stuff is the last 4 years has been an absolute pain in the behind.
Yeah.
And I get emails every day that stuff's on back order, and it's like, all right. I'm just thankful it happens so much that most of my customers are pretty understanding. They're like, we get it. They're like, all right, nothing you can do. So
just kind of became the norm now.
It is, and you hate saying that, but
right.
I remember, God, it seemed like I could get $20,000 worth of parts in 2 days, and
right
now I have a hard time getting a couple $1,000s of parts, in a week. It's just,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if everything goes good, when is the first Champions Tour hook?
Well, their first hook is until July 12th. So
it's that late that it starts?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty fortunate for me is, in June we'll just go wherever we need to and make passes, like we'll go to some state hooks or whatever, kind of whatever's available at the time. And then kind of go from there and try to figure it out. But yeah, that is a picture from today. Yeah.
That is a cool shot of the new tractor right there.
That is from today. 2 hours ago, maybe, when we just finished it. So
that is absolutely nuts.
We had it running this past weekend, but it wasn't really done. So that's why we didn't really post any pictures of it. Probably about 6 o'clock tonight, we finished everything on it. So Carrie just took some pictures of it and has them and probably posting them up here shortly. So,
how many hooks does the Champions Tour have for the mini rods this year?
It's not a ton. It's like around 10 or so.
Any of them pretty close to you where you can almost consider them hometown in a way? Or
the closest ones to us will be Hillsboro and then
that's right.
Right, Hillsboro or Henry, Illinois. They're both about the same from where we're at. Both about a couple hours. But
and
Hillsboro might be
minis are in Hillsboro this year?
What's that?
The minis are in Hillsboro? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard they weren't there this year. But heck yeah, that's cool. You ever driven anything else other than a mini rod? I think you've driven Sean's a couple of times, haven't you?
Yeah. I drive his. once in a while. There was a couple years when he wanted to run for points, and he spends a lot of time with his boys playing ball and
Yep.
doing that stuff. And over the years, there's a couple times he wanted to run points, and so when he had to go to ball, then I would drive the tractor. And there's a few times that they would have like paired up with Badger State or something, and he couldn't make it, and so then I would drive the tractor for him. So yeah, usually it seems like the last 4 or 5 years I've driven it probably every year at least once or twice, a few times.
You ever drive when he had that blower tractor? You ever hop on that thing?
Nope. I've never been down the track in anything but a Mini. The only thing other than something I owned was that I've driven is Sean's turbo tractor. That's it. Otherwise, it's only been what I've owned, my own stuff. So
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you had the option to run something else, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know. It would probably have to be something like a light super or a mod, something big. Probably something like along those lines. A mod would be pretty cool, but yeah, them guys that's just out of hand.
Yes. They're awesome. And
They
I'm
are.
with you. I'll hop on one in a heartbeat and
Yeah.
I'll get it down the track. I'm not going to say it's going to be pretty. I will get it down the track somehow. But I'm with you. Like, that is a whole new level of, out of my game. It's just crazy. To me, it's kind of the pro stocks now. Like that's just insane what they're doing for horsepower and what they're spending on these things. And
The pro stocks are cool. Like
they are, but
a friend of mine is building one, and I've helped him out a lot on that over the last few years. And it's not quite done. It's real close. And we've talked about it, and I've always, I kind of said, well, I don't know, pro stock pulling would be kind of cool. It's got to be different if I want to do it, and this is what he's building is different. It's a little different, but I don't want to go pro stock pulling with a big block John Deere. Like it's just not for me. Like nothing wrong with it. It is what it is. Nothing wrong with that whole deal. It's just, I like doing what I do because it's different.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I think I like it. I think it's good for the class. I think it's good for the crowd.
Yep.
All that. But yeah, pro stock pulling would be okay. But
and I'll be honest with you, I have mad respect for the guys that are dared to be different. Because it does, for me, I do get a little tired of kind of like you say, every big block John Deere coming down the track, and it is just kind of nice to see different sheet metal on them. But I'd really like to see somebody come up with that combo that, the Perkins V8s I always thought were just the coolest for the pro stocks. And I wish they could get them to hold together and last longer. But man,
got a whole new block.
Cool.
Yeah, they got a whole new block program for them guys now.
So, I have heard, but when's it happening?
The blocks are built already.
Are they built? Okay. Yeah, you take like Carlton Cope and Mike Everson, and they're just cool looking tractors. And like I said, I really hope that works because I would really like to see them kind of sit on top for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some cat stuff that's coming too. That'll be pretty interesting.
Really?
So, it'll be neat. Trust me.
What'd you say?
It'll be neat. Trust me. It's what I've helped my friend build and stuff over the past few years. So
cool.
Hopefully it works.
When's he hoping to have that out?
It'll be this summer.
Will it?
He's going to run Badger State with it, I think, primarily this year.
Do you know when he's hoping to have it done?
I believe he's shooting for Elkhorn, whenever that hook in Elkhorn is.
Really?
I think.
I don't know.
I know he's waiting to get on the dyno with it right now. So as soon as they can get it on there, then he pretty much finish up sheet metal, put some paint on it, and be good to go, I think.
How many people know this tractor is coming?
There's quite a few.
Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a few. So,
no,
not really letting any secrets out there.
Okay.
Everyone in Badger State knows, and
Okay. I didn't know. Some of them guys really like to keep it hush until they get it done, and I don't blame them. It's kind of neat to just bring out something and totally different, and
Right.
But even like with us, with the little 4-cylinder tractors and stuff, like I love it when somebody comes out with just some odd, different combination, and they get it to work. And there was a guy. Oh, I haven't seen him in person, but he's got its electric motor on it, and yeah, it's not my cup of tea, but I think it's neat that he's doing it and trying to get it to work. And I don't get it, and it's nothing I'm ever going to do. But again, it is different and it is neat, and he's trying to make it work. And I have respect for the guy. Like, he's trying something no one else is doing, and if he gets it to work, I think he can make it competitive, because I mean, I think his hardest part's going to be controlling it.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. Always is.
Yeah, I can tell you, I mean, I can't wait to see your tractor go down the track, and I really, really hope it's in Toma, because I know I'm going to be up there. And I would love to see that thing make a pass. I mean,
Everything works and it's working, and I feel like if I feel like it can make a competitive pass by that time, then we'll go there. But if I don't think we're there yet, then we probably won't go to them. So kind of just is what it is at this point. I mean, the nice thing about going to some of the state hooks here early in the year, really, those guys is, it's kind of go make a pass and then that's it. You can go back home, regroup. It's not like you're making one day and one the next day.
yep.
So at least it's for the situation I'm in right now, that's helpful, so.
Chuck Hobb wants to know, did you go with the fiberglass fenders on this build?
No, it's just a aluminum framework with a Lexan.
Okay. What'd he say here? Don't be a party pooper. I don't know what he's referring to there, but
he's wanting to see a picture of the whole thing, and my wife's just not going to show everyone.
Mike Schulte wants you to come to Farley.
Yeah. They don't have minis in Farley this year.
I think I kind of know the answer to this one already. But Ryan Moore wants to know why the twins, not the single.
Well, so everyone thinks you run twins because they spool quicker, right? You can get two of them spun up a little quicker. So if you got to pedal it, it's better. In pulling, if you have to pedal it, you're done anyway, so you might as well just stop. So it doesn't matter. I have the twins on there because I started that way because that was my original logic. And then once we got it to work good, there was no reason for me to try a single. That's not saying that someday maybe I won't, but right now it's kind of what I know, right? And it's just the torque curves and the way they spool, the way they build boost, I shouldn't say. I know how to manage them. If you put one big one on, it becomes harder to manage. So like when Sean ran his big single, it was harder to manage that charger. The boost curve on a charger comes off pretty flat and then goes pretty vertical pretty quick. And so if you have one big one, that goes vertical quicker, right? It's just that much more aggressive. And two singles will help that be a little more controllable, or two twins, I should say, make that a little more controllable. So that's one reason. Second is I just know. And the third is the big chargers. I know, like on a small block, when Sean had his, it was constantly fighting thrust issues and trying to drive the wheel ahead, and it just could never seem to get the exhaust housings correct on it. And so it was knocking bearings out of the turbos all the time, and it was just more work. Once we figured out the twins, it was actually less work. So that's mostly why, even on the new one here, we stuck with twins. Now that it's done and built, it is possible that, someday maybe I'll put a big single on it and see if I can make it work. But
do you know, like, when you run the twins instead of the single, is the impeller speed much different on the two turbos versus just having the one? Or is it pretty close, or you don't really know?
Well, I've never run any speed sensors on my turbos, so I don't really know how hard they're turning. But the they got to be somewhat relative,
Okay.
because if you make horsepower, it takes X amount of pounds of air to make X amount of horsepower. So that's not boost. That's physical pounds of air. So you still have to generate the same amount volume and pounds of air to make the power. And that single is just a bigger compressor. The wheel's just moving more air. So it's probably spinning at a relatively same speed. It's just scaled up.
Yep.
To generate those pounds of air.
Okay.
And the exhaust is still driving it, so it's gonna spin relatively fast.
Okay. Again, if anybody's got any questions for Mike, shoot them in the comments. Any interview I've ever seen with Mike, he will tell anyone about everything. So if you have any questions for him, throw them in the comments. We'll put them up on the screen for you. Have you had many issues over the years with, you talked about pushing on the exhaust housing hard with the single, but like with the twins, have you really had much issues with the turbos wearing? Or
yeah, when we first started, we have,
Okay.
we've gone through the whole gamut of issues. When we first started, we were always fighting back pressure problems on the exhaust side, because we weren't, basically, I wasn't smart enough yet. I didn't learn enough. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't, was still learning. That always comes with a price tag. So anytime you have excessive pressure on one side or the other, you load the shaft in a turbo, and anytime you overload the shaft, you have your bearing problem, you break shaft, you knock seals out, you do, all kinds of crazy stuff can happen. So there's been times we always traveled with spare chargers in the trailers, all that, spare center sections, because things happen. You never know. The last 5 years, probably, we've been pretty good with them.
Okay.
The only time we had a problem with a charger is if we had a problem with something else and it caused the charger to go bad. And we didn't really have charger problems the last several years. So now that's all out the window, because it's a whole different program and we're starting all over. So hopefully we don't have those same problems that we had years back.
Corey Moore wants to know, could you run 3?
Yeah. She must be bored.
I guess.
Or Kevin. Kevin's bored sitting next to her. Hey, put that up there and see what he says. Well, you could run, the PPL you can't, but you could go to Tri-County and put one small one on every cylinder if you wanted to. There ain't no rule against that.
So, and I get it says 1 pressure stage, but I'm assuming PPL says maximum 2 chargers.
Yeah, they wrote the rule is 2 chargers at 88 millimeters apart a piece, or 1 single at 130 millimeter. So
okay. And then I'm assuming it's always going to be 1 pressure stage. And then do they have a rule for pro chargers?
The PPL does not. I don't think the PPL does. NTPA does.
They still have that rule then?
Yeah, but I don't think the PPL ever put it in.
Okay. Because that would be something else I would love to see work.
I've thought about trying it just to try something different, and
when
it just, I don't know.
Who was it that did that one a couple years ago? His name Drum.
Yeah, Payne.
Yep.
It's part of the reason that I didn't do it is those guys are smart. They know what they're doing. They got good tuners working on that thing, and they know what they're doing. And if they can't make it work, then something's off there somewhere.
Yep.
And I got to see them make a few passes when they had that, and they were close. They weren't too far off, but I just don't think that thing was really happy down track when I got down track. Just the nature of the way a pro charger works is a little bit different than a roots blower.
Not quite as much of a tech question, but do you still sing Journey at
So those that don't know him, me and Ryan have been friends for many, many years, and that's his big joke always. journey. We might have given each other too hard of a time over the years, I guess.
Some more hard-hitting questions. Have you ever been in a pool and not been able to reach the bottom?
Yeah. That's Jerry. That was when we were younger too. Yeah.
Says we're gonna have a great weekend at Sparks this weekend. Can't wait. Yeah. Let me go back through some of these. So start to finish, how many hours do you think you got in this tractor?
Oh, yeah.
Don't add them up because it'll make you.
Yeah, it'll make you sick. I mean, I got hundreds and hundreds of hours in front of a Bridgeport alone. Much less all the tubing and welding. And there's probably
I'd have to imagine you have, God, what? How many
hours on the
at
TIG
SolidWorks building the chassis?
Oh yeah, I mean it was nothing to sit down for 6 hours on that at a crack and draw it and then redraw it. And now that I built it, I can already see things that I don't like that I should have done different. That I had some of that drawn before I spent as much time with Eric and traveling and helping them guys as I did, and I probably should have changed a few things, and so I can already see things that need to be changed at some point. But we'll worry about that at a later date at this point. So I don't really feel like picking up the TIG welder for a little bit. I'm gonna give that a rest.
What'd you get this thing down to for weight? How much movable weight you're gonna end up having on this thing?
I don't know yet. That's a problem though. Like I really don't know yet. And there's not going to be much, I can tell you that. Like it's going to be heavy, and that's an issue. So I need to figure that out yet. But
do you think with the turbos and stuff hanging out front that maybe that'll help that as far as not having a ton of movable weight? That way you're not getting
it isn't really going to matter. I mean, if you had the weight, you'd have it sitting up there anyway.
Yeah.
So it still ends up in the same place essentially. But yeah, like the chargers are heavy, just the intake manifold's heavy. There's some parts and components on it that kind of add up maybe a little more than I was anticipating. So that weight might be a little bit of an issue, and balance could become a little bit of an issue. But we'll just keep working on it,
Yeah, because you probably don't have a ton of places that, you really can't cut any weight from anywhere.
Not a lot.
No.
Not a lot. It kind of is what it is. I kind of look it over, and there's a few things, there's just some things we'll have to do. But.
And anyone that knows you really don't have a whole ton of room to go on a diet to try to gain anything there. So.
Yeah, I got a little bit of room. I get a little. I'm gonna have to. I don't have a choice.
Somebody wants to know, where is your favorite pull? Okay, so let's do this. What's the favorite pull you've gone to watch? What's your favorite one to run at?
Oh heck, I don't know. There's a lot of good ones. Like when you go with pulling, like going to pull, it's just kind of about the weekend, right? So like you go to the Macvilles where there's a great crowd and all that, and the pull is ran very good and all that. Those are fun weekends. Unfortunately, the track could be better most of the time. And then you go to like some of the smaller festivals, like the Sussex type things with Tri-County. That's just a good, relaxing weekend, and it's fun. Those things were always fun to do. Was those types of things, the Sussex, Darien type pulls that Tri-County does. The crowd stuff is always nice. Go to Macville, stuff like that. And even you go to watch, like I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of good pulls out there. There just isn't really one in my mind that jumps out and says this is just an incredible experience, because maybe it's just how I think, I just go to pick things apart and to be critical of things sometimes. So it ain't really an event that jumps out and says is great, but they're all good in their own right. They all have their own something about them that's good.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot I run into. There's a lot of pulls that I just like to go to. not so much that there's the one I can't miss. It's just there's about 20 of them I want to go to. And I kind of have to pick and choose the ones that I'm going to be able to make it to. As far as me running, I have tracks that I love to run at. Unfortunately, we don't run at a lot of them anymore. They either change their events or the events don't happen anymore. But I typically, as much as I love running and I love everything about my tractor, watching like my son and my wife and my dad run is always more fun. So like when my son got his first win on his stock tractor when he was 4, that to me was always kind of a cool pull.
Yeah.
And, watching my dad win and, unfortunately, I think this might be the last year for my dad. He'll be 85 this year. So we're going to try to get him at least one more win with his tractor, which is real old technology. And I've got the head off of that right now. We're doing some work on that, trying to get a little more power out of it.
And I like pulling. I like going to pulls. I like going to watch pulls. But at the end of the day, I get more enjoyment out of helping people than anything. Like that's just how I am. Like I would like to help people. If you need some help.
It's hard to explain to people that it's not necessarily always that 12-second ride down the track. I mean, they're fun. And if I think what I ride is fun, I couldn't imagine what riding your stuff would be like. I mean, it'd just be insane. But, the time I spend working on the tractors with my son and my dad and stuff like that, I have more fun doing that. The first year I went to run mine, we end up having to throw the spare short block in it, which is still in it to this day. But like a week before we're supposed to hook it, it's like a Tuesday night and me and my dad are in my shop and we're swinging in the new motor and, my dad's had tickled pink that I'm going to be able to run. So it's that kind of stuff that I always really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just creating something, it's always kind of nice. Like I like to always prove the point that you don't always have to write a check to somebody to get something. Like, a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people have to. It's just the way it is. They just they don't, they want to go pulling. They got to write a check to somebody to do it. And I like to just show people that it doesn't have to be that way. That if you put in the effort and you truly teach yourself and you're willing to teach yourself or have somebody teach you, there's a lot that just about anybody can do if they put their mind to it.
Yeah.
That's how I've gotten to what I'm able to do, is just because of that mentality. Is if I wanted to do it, I had to learn to do it or ask somebody to show me how to do it,
And, you talk about that and I follow, I don't know how many people's different Facebook pages for pullers, and you see some of them that, and the one that comes to my mind is Russell Hildebrand. Like they're always working on their tractor. Like they're not the guys that they have a problem. It's not getting sent away. Like they are taking it, tearing it apart. And I know other guys that when there's an issue, they're, it's not an open checkbook. They're working on it, trying to get it done. And those are the guys that, when they make that that great pass, it's cool to see them do it just because, they're the ones that are wrenching on them and working on them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just anybody that can, they can fix their stuff, that's willing to make an attempt, right?
Yep.
It's the people that don't want to make an attempt and they just can write a check for it, that it's like, well, it is what it is. But that's why I like doing, that's what I like about the sport, is that you have the ability to do that if you choose to. If you want to go race NASCAR, you're not going to build your own chassis and go race NASCAR.
Correct.
It's not an option. That's what's nice about pulling, is it is an option. You can do that. People that don't necessarily have the means to go buy a Grand National level chassis and motor, if they have the means to build it, it can be done. You can do it at any class.
Yep. And I say this sometimes, and I think people think I'm kind of crazy, but like you started smaller, and to me, I feel something that's affordable to the average person. And you just kind of work your way up. And I don't think people realize that some of these guys that are, they're sitting in these expensive machines, they didn't just start that way. That took decades to get to where they wanted to be. And I even know guys that race that they'll tell me flat out, like they're racing with high-end late models, and they'll tell me flat out that if they bust tonight, that, it's going to be a couple weeks because they got to get it fixed. They can't just take it someplace and have them do it. So
Yeah, and that's exactly how, that's how we operate. It is what it is, right? I mean, part of growing a pulling program to the next level, no matter what that is, or what organization or anything, but just if you want to continue to step up, it's not just about learning what you need to do in the pulling world, right? Like I had to get better at my career so I could afford to buy the parts to go to the next level. So you spend 20 years just building a career to be able to do it, afford the time off to do it, make the wage to be able to do it. And then on top of it, teach yourself to build everything to do it,
Yep.
So and there's
I
a
know.
number of people out there that are that way, there's a fair amount of them in pulling that way.
So that, and I again, I love to try to wrench on my own stuff, and it was a couple of years ago I wanted to build something. So I'm like, you know what? Let's buy a small metal lathe. So that's sitting in the corner of my shop. Well, now I have another idea. So now there's a small mill sitting in the corner of my shop. I'm like, I think I can do this. And, for me, like I have an idea for a motor and I don't know if this is going to work. And I've told my wife, I'm like, there's a chance that I'm going to fire this thing up and it's going to throw connecting rods through that oil pan. But I'm going to know it's not going to work. But it kind of same thing you said you're starting with a 540 and you guys are limited to what? You guys can go up to what?
575.
575. I'm starting with, and again, we're peanuts compared to what you're doing, but I'm kind of doing the same thing where I'm going to try it on a smaller scale. And if it works, then I'm going to see how big I can go with the cubic inch with it if my first idea works. And again, in my mind, if I can make this work, I think I can make a healthy little motor, but we got to get through the first stage first. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it just takes time. Like you got to be willing to put in the time, and it's, and it sometimes it's discouraging, and sometimes it takes a long time to get there.
mm-hmm.
It is, it is what it is.
It's something for me too. I don't know why, but like when I can sit at the lathe and just play with it for a little bit, it's almost kind of relaxing for me because it's not my everyday job. It's not what I do all the time. So it's something different and I can just sit there and do it slow. And then there's them times where I get doing it. I'm like, oh, I don't think it's supposed to throw sparks like that. I'm doing something wrong. So I'm going back and watching videos, trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong with my lathe or my
And
mill
that's,
or whatever.
it's one advantage that I do have is even where I work, the shops that we have where I work, like we have all the equipment there that we need. Like I have stuff, my own, TIG welders, notchers, benders, all that stuff I have at my house and do all that. But all the big equipment, the mills, lathes, all that stuff, I go down to the shop, spend the whole weekend there working on the stuff, and we're welcome, as welcome to use it and all that. So that really puts a big dent in it too, and really helps get things done.
So then there's this comment too that, and I've seen this as well, that picture with it running the built not bought decal on the fenders of that tractor. I think that's pretty cool. We
were designing that whole wrap. The wrap's very similar. It's not, we didn't really change a lot. And so like when I say I did everything, I mean I did everything. Like I sat here on one Sunday and just downloaded a free, photo or editor program for graphic editing and designed the new wrap on that, and then just uploaded it to a website and had it printed and then sent to the house here, and then we put it on ourselves and all that stuff. So like we were sitting there and I had it all done and I needed something on the bottom, and there's like there's a turbocharger in the background there, and then I put that over the top of it. I'm like, I'm gonna put that on there. Like I've worked hard enough to earn the right to put that on there.
And I do understand too that not everyone can do everything. I mean, not everyone's gonna have access to welders and stuff like that, but I don't think people realize what they can do themselves.
Right. Right. That's the point, is that, I didn't always know how to TIG weld, right? And it started and went out and bought a little, at that time, like a Lincoln 175 for, $1,100 or something, and weld with that for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you had to be willing to try.
Yep.
You have a friend that knows how to do it and can give you 20 minutes worth of advice. You take it and you learn.
I always preach that to my son, what you just said. I'm like, I need you to try. I'm like, I can deal with you failing, but I'm like, you've got to try.
Yeah.
And since he's been 4, I've always kind of told him, like, when we go to pull, like we try to get first every time, but like you accept when you get last. Like it doesn't go good every time. And we typically aren't the first place tractors. We're typically mid-pack tractors, and we've always been that way, and I'm fine with that. But we're not gonna. I can tell you right now, we're not winning by bringing a checkbook. It's gonna be either I'm can't afford it or I can't get it figured out. And people have seen my stuff run. They know sometimes I can't get it figured out, and it don't make a pass worth a damn. And
everybody's going to be in that situation at some point, right? You're going to be up against something and you're just going to not be able to figure it out, right? And the difference is the people that quit and the people that keep trying. You know, how far are you willing to push yourself?
here's another guy. This guy, Travis Schwab, I don't know if you know him at all. He's always wrenching on his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That guy puts in a pile of time on stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a commitment. The whole sport is a commitment, you know? I mean, it is like, yeah, there you go. Like,
Yeah.
it's like Ryan said, you know, like if my wife didn't support what I was doing, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I've got, again, my wife is amazing. And actually, my son is the reason she drives. Because when I bought the tractor I'm running, he's like, well, Mom can have your old one. Okay. So then he come in the shop the one day. He's like, Mom said she drive. And I'm like, really? So I went up to my wife. I'm like, you said you drive? And she's like, no. He asked if I would. And I said, probably. So somehow that turned into him.
Yeah.
Well, she drove that tractor for the next couple of years. And then when the club allowed my son to hop on it, he started running that tractor as well. So
Problem solved.
yep. So they share that one, and the plan is to build him another one. And then after that, we don't know what we're doing. He wants to go mini rod pulling. And what he doesn't realize is if Mom and Dad are funding it, Mom and Dad get a little more say than he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well, you
we'll
just,
do
you know, just a couple of them, right? You just need a couple of them to solve that problem.
yeah. I think my wife would already say I have too many. So that's already a problem. Travis has 15. Yeah, Travis has a lot of tractors.
Yeah. I always said I'm only have one, so that's why the other one had to be gone before I even started building this one. So only one. I don't have time for more than one.
That
Sometimes
and you get that one sitting there, you kind of one of them's got to go, and I feel like you kind of start lowering your expectations of what you're going to get out of it, and I'm with you there. When it's time, it's got to go. And unfortunately, some of ours aren't going to get sold; they're going to go up on a shelf. So
yeah, I got to a point in my life where it was if we were going to do this, it had to happen, you know, like soon. It was like now is the time, or we ain't going to do it at all. So we had the chance to do it, and it was time to just try. So we're going to go try for a few years.
So we'll ask about that then. If this goes good, is the plan to go a little bit bigger with the block?
Oh, I don't know that you really have to. It's hard to say. It's just with a turbo motor, it's, well, from what I know with small block stuff, it's, you know, bore and stroke is important. And, you know, in a mini class at that level, you have to stand on it. You know, you just have to. Them guys are on those things hard.
Yep.
So I think that where it's at right now, it can at least look respectable and everything. But at some point, I'm sure it'll have to go up to 572 or whatever, you know, just to be able to do what it needs to do. I mean, it's gonna have to be. So either that, or you got to keep it where it's at and then turn more RPM and just spin it harder. You know, just be willing to spin it harder and do more maintenance. Harder you spin it, the more maintenance you got to do. So it's got to be one or the other.
How hard you hoping to spin this motor?
Not any harder than I need to.
Can I ask what do you think that's going to be?
I don't know. I mean, right now, those guys, it's hard to say, you know. I mean, all of them motors are running over 8,000 RPM. So that's kind of where they're going to have to be to even think about being competitive. And I know there's a few of them that like turning them significantly harder than $8,000. So I can tell you, we're not going to do that right away. We had too much learning to do. It's too risky.
Mhm.
You know, we would want to keep it down around that number to at least take some time and learn. So if we can go and turn it somewhere around there and keep it in the middle of the pack and learn something, I'll be more than happy with that. So
I can see that.
especially right away, you know.
You mean kind of get the tune figured out before you really lean on it, and
Yeah, you have to, because it's very easy for a turbocharger to run away from you. You know, it can get up there and overspool if you do something wrong, and if it runs away, it's just going to build a whole bunch of boost, and then you're not going to have fuel right, and you're back to that detonation problem again. So, yeah.
so, and they'll ask us about, and you probably, I don't know if you can answer this for the new one, but like on your LS tractor, how much exhaust were you having? Much exhaust bypass the turbos, or were you
A
pretty
lot.
much
Yeah.
a lot?
A
Okay,
lot. So we wasted off a lot.
okay, that's what I was wondering.
We ran a little bit tighter exhaust housing, and we just waste off a lot.
Okay,
So we didn't run. We could do that on a small block because we didn't run a real giant boost number, right? We're not pounding this huge amount of boost in it, so then there's not a lot of pressure against the turbine wheel essentially, right? So you don't
Yep.
it just drives easier, so you can waste off more. So we could just waste off a whole bunch in that, and didn't really need it on the new one. We tried a little different exhaust housing. We're trying to put a little more exhaust through the turbo, and hopefully don't build too much back pressure. So
yep.
that's for us. It's we're just gonna try it and see. I got a couple of theories and ideas of things that'll work and why things do what they do from the turbo side, and like when the tractor starts building boost, I have a kind of in my mind where I want that to be. So
Yep.
try to control that with the exhaust housing. So we're trying to do it a little bit differently in the big motor than we did in a small motor.
Okay.
We wasted a lot off early in a small motor. We're going to try to put a little more through the charger housing on the big motor.
Okay.
So whether it works or not, I don't know. We could be going down a bad path here and end up going back to what we know, and then just wasting off a bunch and on a tighter exhaust housing on a big motor even, and just do it that way. But
yeah, I think I can remember you saying one time that the amount of exhaust on the LS motor, the amount of exhaust that actually went through the turbo was a lot less than what most people would ever think.
it was. You create that motor create a lot of exhaust. It just there's a lot there, a lot more than you need there. That you're dumping so much fuel in it, you're creating a lot of exhaust gases, right? So you got to do something with them. And you just didn't need to drive the charger that hard. And if you wanted to crank the boost way up and thought you wanted to put some ridiculous amount of boost in it, it would just simply close the wastegates anyway and push it in there. As long as you could keep the back pressure below the boost pressure, in theory, it wouldn't blow up. So,
Okay. Carrie Moore wants to know, when are you doing the No Prep podcast?
Who knows?
Still waiting for the invite? No.
Yeah, no rush for any of that stuff. It doesn't matter to me. No real reason. Yeah.
Well, Mike, I want to thank you for coming on. Sorry about the hiccup we had at the start of it. I'm sorry that Brandon had to take off and go play firefighter. That kind of sucks for him because I know he probably had some questions for you too. But I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I think what you're doing is awesome. I love the twin turbo setup. I hope more than anything that you're up in Toma with it, because I really want to see it. Maybe you'll let me sit in it, something like that.
Yeah, we'll see how things progress here. We just got to get get some testing done, see where we're at,
Yep.
And then Carrie will post where we're going to be going, at some point here, little bit of heads up here and there, but unfortunately, I don't know where we're gonna go yet. You know, we're just gonna the month of June. We're just gonna kind of play it by ear and kind of take things as they come and just work on figuring it out.
So if the first hook for PPL is in July, when's their last one? Or are they all pretty close together?
September will be out in Ohio in September.
Okay.
I think there's two. If I remember right, there's two in September. I think one, I don't know, one Nashville, Illinois, I think, and then or no, Nashville, Illinois, and then Ohio, I think, are the last two.
Okay. Well, I'm going to wish you the best of luck with your new tractor. I can't wait to see it come out.
Well, thanks. Hopefully it all
and
works.
Carrie is still listening. Tell her she does tell Carrie she does a great job with your social media presence and all the pictures and everything. You guys do a phenomenal job, even advertising the shirts and stuff at events. You guys do really good at that. I'm going to say better than most.
Thanks. Yeah, she's here. She's listening over here, yonder, that way. So, yeah.
You know, my wife laughs because every T-shirt I have has some kind of pulling tractor on it. I was grabbing shirts out tonight, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, I might as well wear one of Mike's shirts because you know it's going to be on it. And she kind of looked at me kind of goofy. I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, you made the decision. Good for you. I'm like, ha ha ha.
I just grab whatever's on the end of the rack, you know, and they're all pulling shirts. So just whichever one's hanging on the end of it.
I have, again, my wife thinks I'm an idiot because I have some that I've worn enough that they're getting a little bit more worn that I'll wear like to go pulling, and then some that I actually are good.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
So,
But yeah. So thanks for having me. You know,
yeah, no, we appreciate you coming on, Mike.
Gary will be putting more pictures up over the next couple days here of it actually completed and done, and people will get to see it now. Yeah, and then if everything goes good, we'll see if we can make a pass with it on Sunday. So hopefully Sunday we can make a pass.
Well, unfortunately, I wish I could be there, but I cannot make it. So good luck there. And like I say, good luck with the tractor. I know you'll get it figured out. I don't see you being the guy that if it doesn't work, that you are just going to, it'll bother you if you don't get this thing to work.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, we won't just run out and buy a blower right away. You know, not saying that someday we wouldn't if we had to, but you know, it ain't gonna happen like in the first. I'm not just gonna say, oh, it doesn't work and go run blah blah blah. Yeah, we're not gonna.
That would be, I'm going to say the most shocking news is to see you buy a blower for a tractor.
Yeah. You never know. Maybe we'll have to someday, but
Nah.
if turbos, if I can make it competitive, we'll keep running them. So
Cool.
just
Well,
give it the effort.
thanks again, Mike. We really appreciate you coming on. Good luck this year. I can't wait to see this thing come out.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, bye.